working here down on the Nash, and I'm gonna give you these two lovely guests the pineapple tour. I will explain you how to produce one pineapple here in the island. That is completely different than the rest of the world. And why? Because the pineapples, they are origin for tropical countries. For example, Brazil, Costa Rica, Hawaii, they have the natural conditions to produce pineapples here outdoors. Here in Azores, we don't have the tropical climate. Not yet. It's getting near because each year we have the weather changes too, and it's getting more warmer and warmer each year. But until that day arrived, we must put it, or the pineapple plant, in that greenhouse that we're gonna pass in a few seconds. That is the white greenhouses over there. You can see a little bit over there. They are there. We put the pineapple plants inside that greenhouses, the white ones, to imitate that tropical climate. Okay? In the summertime, we can recreate that. But now in the winter time, the pot plants, they hate cool weather. So they're gonna spend all the winter. They are not growing, but they are like shaky a bit cold inside of the greenhouse. And because of that, we need a little bit more time just to produce one pineapple. In the rest of the world, they can produce pineapples in about 1 year. Here it's about 2 years. It's 24 months until you finished to your plate. And I can guarantee you one thing. Make pineapples in 2 years, we're never gonna be rich producing pineapples. At least we are reaching one thing. We are reaching proud. We can say with proud, this is the only spot in all Europe that produce pineapples. So it's something. In the end, forget about the money, the pocket's empty, nothing lives there. But our heart, this one, it's full of proud, and no one can steal the proud to produce the pineapples, okay? We call this one our maternity. So we create the new generation of pineapple plants here inside. And you see this greenhouse, the shape is circular and it's a little bit lower. So this is like to get in the summertime temperatures more than 50 degrees here inside. That is necessary to create these new plants that you see it here. So to make these plants, we need this thing here. This is a root for a pineapple about 4 or 5 months ago that they produced one pineapple. So what we do, we take all of that roots and we introduce the roots that the plant that produces a pineapple, and we introduce here inside. And when it's very hot here inside, this root will produce this new generation of baby pineapple plants. One root like this one can produce between 1 until 7 plants. So we're gonna get here inside a lot of plants. We have plants here to fill up all the 11 greenhouses at least for the next 6 months. Okay? And when we need plants to move it over there, we came here inside and we just select the big plants to move it over there. We don't take the root is in the soil, we don't take the root outside of the soil to take the plant. So what we do, we came here inside and we just need to come here and we break the big plants to move it over there, because we need plants over there, and then we leave these small ones to grow a little bit more. Doing that, we have always plants to change it over there, and we think about 6 months in advance, okay, doing this process, okay? And why is very important? Because if you have always the plants prepared to move it over there, we can jump the first 6 months of production and we can produce pineapples in about 1 year and a half. But in the next steps, I will understand better, and you will understand better why it's very important, the maternity always full of plants. These plants are at the moment about 9 months of life. I'm counting the first 6 months in the maternity, and we moved these plants to here about 3 months ago. That gives us the total of the 9 months, okay? And you see that now the plants, they are much more organized than that ones that I show you. Now we give, when we move it, we give to each plant the space, the distance that they need to grow, okay? And the main thing, we need that each one receive more sun, more light that is possible. More sun in the plant, they grow faster. And then of course, here in the center, don't have, not yet, but it's gonna be a pineapple here in the center. More sun in the pineapple, more sweet it's gonna be the pineapple, okay? And you see here that we change the shape to circular to a triangle. Why? Doing that, we can reduce a little bit the temperature here inside. That temperature is too much for these plants in this time of the production, okay? So we can change the temperature between 13 to 14 degrees in this shape in triangle. And another good thing, in this shape we can adapt the production of pineapples. Why? These plants here in the center, they will catch always more sun than that once they are in the corner, they are more in the shape. these ones, they grow faster and they produce the pineapple earlier than that ones over there. Doing that, we start to collect the first pineapples here in the center, and more or less after 2 months we are collecting the last one over there. Doing that, we can get the production step by step. And one thing important to here, we must use a specific soil. Why? If you have a too compact soil, it's gonna be too hot for the root. So to reduce the temperature, we use a kind of a solution that is a mix of soil. We have a normal soil, and then we mix organic things in the soil to create a very fluffy soil. A very fluffy soil, we can get a lot of circulation in the soil to keep the roots a little bit more fresh. And of course, the plant, they need to eat something, and the food came for the organic things that will start to decompose here inside, and the plant will absorb all of these nutrients. Okay, so this is the 9 months. I will jump a little bit more. 3 weeks with this high concentration of smoke here inside. Okay, what gonna happen to these poor plants with that amount of smoke? They believe they are like in the middle of big fire. They believe that they will die. Okay, but before they die, they must think in the future generations to this one to get lost. Okay, what is happening here? So we smoke the poor plants. By the smoke we stress the plants, and by the stress we force them to produce the fruit that you see it in the first one. We force them to produce the fruit that you see over there. And when we do correctly, this smoke, 99% of the plants, they will believe in that. So we can get the production all together. Okay, that is very good. Get the production all together. And give us one important thing too. We have the power to decide at time we want the production of pineapples too. We have about 4 months to make the fires here inside. Doing that, we can decide the production that we want the pineapples, and normally we want pineapples in the island 2 times in the year. During the summertime because we know that the pineapple have much more sugar in the summertime because it's more sun, more sugary, and then we're gonna need a lot of pineapples in a couple of weeks, in the Christmas week. I don't know in your houses, but in my house, and maybe 99% of the houses of Azorian persons, we must get in the Christmas table at least 1 pineapple like that one. It's traditional and typical, so it's a must. So you must get at least 1 pineapple, and normally in that specific week we can sell more pineapples in that week than the rest of the year. Okay, and because of the trick of the smoke, we can guarantee these 2 production in these 2 specific moments. And the last thing, how to discover that? Because here we are not scientists here in the island, so we just discovered by mistake, a very good mistake. A long time ago, one greenhouse like this one burned, got fired, and after the fire they noticed that specifically inside that greenhouse all of the plants, they produced the fruit together. And size that great mistake we are using it in nowadays. This technique of the smoke only use it in Sao Miguel, because it's the only place in the world that have the production of pineapples inside the greenhouses. In the rest of the world, the plants, they are outdoors, so it's impossible to them to do the trick of the smoke. So give us a very good advanced to produce the pineapple. It's very, very good. In the shape, okay? So it's not a good thing. So for us, it's an extra job that we have it, because we must come here inside, my colleagues, and take all of these plants out, okay, to keep the pineapples with the light. And about 3-4 months ago, I discovered one thing about these plants. I discovered by asking all of the guests if they know these plants, and I discovered that they are selling these same plants around the world, selling each one between 20 to 13 euros. Each plant that you see here. So, and what we are doing here in the island, or what we are doing here in Azores, we are losing money producing pineapples. We're never going to be rich producing pineapples, and we are putting the money, that is the plant, directly in the garbage. So we are brilliant persons. Maybe in a couple of years, forget the pineapples, you're just gonna get some plants here in this similar greenhouse, but I hope not. Now I'm just joking, but I hope this not. These plants, they are with about, I think, about 22-23 months of production. This is almost the last step of the production of pineapple, and you can see, because they burn together, you can see all the pineapples, they are almost in the same size. These pineapples, I think, are gonna be the pineapple for the Christmas evening. It's gonna be for this one. So they're not prepared to cut at the moment. But in about maybe 1 week, I hope, if not we can stay without pineapple this year. But in about 1 week, all of these pineapples, they're gonna change color. You see at the moment, they are with a dark green, not prepared to cut. But they will change color, so they will start to get like yellow down to the top. When they get half yellow, half green, is the correct time that we cut the fruit. Why? Because we need time to sell the fruit. And after we cut the fruit, after 2 weeks, it's gonna be completely yellow. It's like the bananas, we buy it green, then it gets yellow in the houses. The same happens with the pineapples. Okay? And then I need to explain you what happens after we cut all of these pineapples. At the moment I don't have a plant to show you, but in the future, after we cut this pineapple, it will burn a new plant side by side with this one. At the moment I don't have to show you, but a second plant will burn for a year, and this second plant, it can produce a second pineapple for the same plant. But we have a small problem, because this second plant, it will produce a second pineapple, but half of the size of the first one. And for us, we don't want that. Now we're going to be a little bit a seller. Why? Because we want big and fat pineapple that you see around here. Why? Bigger the fruit, we can have more money per kilo. Half of the size, half of the price. So we don't use again this same plant, okay? But we don't waste nothing. The green leaves, we can make compost with the green leaves. Then we're gonna take the root directly to the maternity, okay? And then the root, the maternity, to create the new generation of plants. And then we must start over again. We must put it new soil, new organic things, new plants for the maternity, and in about 1 year and a half we are again producing pineapples. And now you understand why it's very important to get the plant in the maternity prepared to move it to here. If you have always the plant prepared to move it directly to here, we can jump always the first 6 months of the production, and we can do pineapples in only 1 year and a half. That is a little bit better than 2 years. Okay. For Azores, you see that this top hat, it's much smaller compared to the rest of the world, because we are taking this center eye directly for here the center, and doing that we keep this thing always small. If you leave this thing over there, it will create leads like you see the pineapples in the rest of the world. But we start to do this thing for one simple reason, like we serve the fruits inside boxes, and to close it, the pineapple inside the box with this top hat too big, it's not so easy to put it in the box. But now doing that, now it's completely easy to put the pineapple and close it inside the box, okay? But then another mistake that we discovered, doing that we change the growing of the pineapples, okay? If you leave it, the pineapple, we don't take nothing here in the center. If you leave it, the pineapple will grow like vertical, like the rest of the world, okay? Because we take the center eye, we induce the pineapple not to grow like that, but like that, more horizontal. So the pineapple in your store is going to be much small pineapples and more circular. And if you go to the shop and if you want to look if the pineapple is for a source, you just need to look. If you have a small top head like this one, an empty hole here in the center, and the shape a little bit smaller and circular, I can guarantee that that pineapple is from Azores. The pineapple, I think it can be replicated here. It's the only place that produces pineapple because we have a specific kind of weather. So don't make, I teach you how to make some pineapples, but please don't do it in your houses. Take a flight and come to Azores to eat the pineapples, okay?